The thing is with anger is oftentimes the slightest thing, just a little thing, can cause so much pain down the line. And it's because this little thing that we can just let go. We hold on so tight because we feel like victimized, or we feel offended, or we feel attached to this thing, even a word or an action or some traffic or your team losing. We hold on to this thing happening. And the more you hold it, it's like a boiling pot. It just boils up and boils up and boils up. And eventually that pressure has to be released somewhere. It can be directed internally, cause stress, anxiety, it can cause rashes and other sorts of ailments. But the thing is about holding on. Imagine you're squeezing so tight, it's just squeezing and squeezing, all this anger is building up inside you, you're squeezing and squeezing. How do you release that? How do you stop? Would you apply the same force to try let go? You're putting just as much force to let go as you're squeezing. All that causes is more tension. The thing is with it is you just have to relax. And as you relax, you do let go. And that's the thing, is like with anger and all these things, some people often, they focus on it too much. So someone got cut off in traffic and it creates this anger because you feel like they've attacked you in a way, they've directed this at you. But so you try think of all these ways, like, why would they do this? How did they do this? Don't they know that I'm doing this? And you're putting more effort into it, trying to overcome this anger. Like you make them more of a villain to justify your anger. That's your way of applying that force to the tight grip that you have. But the idea of letting go is, number one, you cut you off in traffic and you just don't bother with it, because you're never going to stop that. They've done it already. You can never, ever, physically impossible to stop that from happening, as it's already happened. You can't change the past. We know that. So what's the point in giving it any attention? Now, maybe it needs attention if that person carries on reckless driving all over the place. Maybe it's good to ring the police or tell them that, hey, you're going to hurt someone doing that. But if they just cut you off in traffic and it annoys you, just let it go. Because otherwise you're just holding this clenched fist of anger, and you're clenching it, and then you try battle it, try unclench by tightening even more, by trying to justify why it's okay for you to be angry, because no one wants to actually be angry, but they want to justify it. They know it's not a good trait to have. We've been told since we're kids that you shouldn't get angry, so we do anything to justify it. We look for these answers which it just clenches it up more and more. So another thing you can do is realize that no one's the villain in their own play. This person cut you off in traffic. Maybe they're late to the hospital to see a loved one. Maybe something super important's come up. They have to get their medication. You just don't know. And if you was in that same circumstance, you had to get to the hospital to see a loved one. You had to get your medication. Would you push in front of traffic? Now, if the answer is yes, which most people can say it's yes, then maybe you can justify their actions and just let it go. Whoa, they cut me off in traffic. Life-saving medication. You just saved their life letting them cut in front of you. Well done. They say it is human to be angry, but childish to be controlled by anger. What I think of that is that a child has not yet learned the correct tools to traverse through life's problems, and anger or aggression and screaming, crying, these are some of the most basic tools, the first tools we learn when something is uncomfortable, we don't like something, we'll cry, scream, to get attention of people who can help us. But as we grow through life, we learn different tools to traverse through these problems. So when we are faced with a problem, instead of screaming and crying, we can sit, think, work it out, and think of the best solution and the best action for us to take to get the best outcome. It's like if a kid drops his toy, he's unable to get to the toy to pick it up, he'll cry and cry and cry until someone picks up the toys for him and gets it. But we know we can get up out of the chair, pick up the toy and we're not upset anymore. And I think that's the same for problems in life, is that if someone is annoying us or there's a situation that we feel out of control and we can't control, then many people, or maybe it's an instinct, to revert to this screaming, this crying, this frantic behavior, this panic, as we don't know what to do. And that's what we oftentimes revert to. So think to yourself, when you feel like behaving like this, there is childish and you know better tools than to just scream and cry and get mad and huff and puff and stress out. You know there's better tools, so sit and think. So there's this little exercise I came up for when you're feeling angry, and not just necessarily when you're feeling angry. If you can do this exercise to stay on top of your anger and to really think deeply about your anger, and that is to think about the consequences of anger, and then subsequently is to think about the alternative. So you think back to a time where you displayed anger, mistakes you have made through the mistakes that have come about through the consequences of anger, people you have hurt, things you have damaged, also damaging your own character. So maybe it was many years ago, last week, or just now, and that's actually why you're watching this video. You think about you was angry and maybe you said some mean things to someone, you broke something, you did something that you wasn't happy about. Write this thing down. Write down, if you hurt your mom, you said something mean to her, write down, when I was angry, I said, I hate you. And obviously you don't hate this person, but that's what you said through anger. And then you have to be empathetic. Try to understand how much you have hurt this person. Now you understand the damages of anger and this quick burst of anger. And do you think anger was the right thing to act upon in that situation? I think 9 times out of 10, the answer is no, you shouldn't act out of anger. Sometimes anger is a good indicator for when things need to be done. It's a good indicator for when you are being pushed or you're uncomfortable or you need to set certain boundaries, and that's why you feel this anger. But the other side to this is to then think. So your mom maybe said some things that made you feel uncomfortable, so you told her you hate her. Think, what could you have used as an alternative to anger? Maybe some patience, maybe some wisdom. What could you have done differently? What would you have done differently if you could go back? I think you would say that you would take a break, maybe go listen to some music. That's some of my best advice, is to take a pause and you can either express yourself through art or listen to some music, something that just stops that anger in its tracks and lets you get a different mindset. And then you think, what action should I have took? You go to your mum and say, hey mum, this thing you said did upset me, maybe there's truth behind it, I'll try to act upon what you're saying, but also I think you're wrong in this area, you're wrong in this area, but maybe you're right here, we can work together on this. I think it's a powerful exercise. So you write down times when you're angry, what damage it did, and then you write down what you could have used differently, what characteristic would have been more efficient in this area. And I think 9 times out of 10 you'll realize anger is just a terrible tool to get the right, to take the right action, to get the right outcome from the situation. The thing we're dealing with when we're angry at a person and we're holding on to this anger oftentimes is just ego. We don't want someone to get the better of us. We don't want someone to damage our ego. When you're holding on to this anger, sometimes you feel it's justified in the sense that you get your revenge, or you become a victim to what this person has done, and so these negative feelings are justified, and somehow you feel like you achieve something. I don't know what it is people think they're achieving when they hold on to anger, because the person you're directing, the person who your anger is directed at, the person that you feel has insulted you or harmed you, they do not feel your anger. They don't feel anything.
the thoughts and the conflict and the struggles that are going on in your mind because of them that you're holding on to, they are not aware of any of this. They don't feel any of those feelings, those negative feelings that can make you feel sick, they can make you stay up all night. All these horrible things that come from these thoughts in your mind. And this person is not aware of them. So this person, technically, this person has insulted you. They've called you a name. It lasted 5 seconds. They said this horrible thing to you. Then you felt the initial reaction. You felt an attack and it felt bad. You feel mad, you feel angry, you feel irritated and annoyed, and you feel this feeling. It can end right there, and it ends there for them. They got their little buzz from insulting you, or maybe they thought they were justified in insulting you, but then you take this little 5-second audio snippet that came out of their mouth and you loop it in your head for minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. I don't know how long you're holding on to it, but it's not affecting them in any way. It's just like a poison inside you. It's just there, just affecting you, corrupting your character, corroding you. And I know these sound like very intense and extreme words, but in a sense, that is what these things are doing. You holding on to these snippets of times when you were insulted or offended, like someone cuts you off in traffic and you hold on to that. You vividly remember the face they made as they looked at you and they did their action. You remember all these things. You keep playing it over in your head and trying to justify your intense anger that you feel towards this person. And it doesn't matter. The more you think of it, it just makes it worse for you. It just builds up in your mind and travels through your body and comes out as stress and worries and anxieties and negative feelings. I just want to say that holding anger only damages yourself. It doesn't damage them unless you start to inflict that anger towards other people. And that's another thing. Someone can do a small action or a big action, it doesn't really matter, but someone can anger you and it can end right there, or you can use your wisdom, use a bit of temperance and courage, and you spend a while thinking of the correct action to take to fix that situation. Maybe they keep doing something wrong and this needs to be stopped, it needs to be visited, this problem needs to come to an end. And you think for a while, maybe I can tell them what they're doing is wrong, maybe I can talk to an authority about this, or my manager, or someone that can help me with this, but it needs to end here. That's okay. But if you take that internally and you hold on to that anger that someone has passed over to you, then you can actually start to spread it to your family. You become short-tempered, you become agitated and annoyed and frustrated, and you start to take it out on people close to you. You might not even know you're doing it, but it increases your irritability and negative character traits. It might increase it by a little bit. People start to notice that. People will be like, what's the matter with them? Or maybe they get angry from it and they start doing the same thing. And you build up these pots of boiling water that are just everywhere. People holding on to that anger. How did it start? Some guy said an annoying comment 6 years ago and it's held there. Or you can just release that steam and it can end the cycle. If you find yourself struggling with anger a lot, then I think this advice can help you a lot, and many people have heard of it before. It's virtue modeling. But what you can do is you find people you admire, like maybe your father or your teacher, or even an actor, or just someone you know, a professor. It can be anyone, and you write these traits that you like about them. This professor is calm, he never gets angry. Your father is patient and caring. These people, these traits you admire, this calmness that you admire about them, this gentleness, this ability to not talk down to people, belittle people, these great traits. And you create this model. Maybe you have an outline of a person and you write these arrows of them. I admire, as Marcus Aurelius did. He said what he learned from his grandfather and his father and his mother, gentleness, calmness, kindness, all these things. You write these things down and who you learn them from. And say you learned calmness from your father, and you're in a time where you're wanting to display anger, then you think about this model of this perfect person you have, and you look at the trait of your father and think, what would he do in this situation? And if you can say to yourself, my father would stay calm, he wouldn't belittle this person, he wouldn't get mad at this person, he wouldn't be enraged, and model yourself off of them, as these are characteristics that you admire about people you admire, and to be like them is to carry on these traits. Holding on to anger to punish someone else is similar to drinking poison and expecting them to get sick, because that's what anger is. It stays inside you. If you hold on to this anger, it stays inside you, and it is like a poison. It does corrupt you, it hurts you, and it can even physically show up through stress and ailments. Anger can cause physical pain, and it causes, most commonly, psychological pain. So you holding on to this anger that someone has made you feel, not made you feel, but they've done something that's caused you to become angry, and now you are holding on to this anger, only damaging yourself, as if you've drank some poison, expecting them to be hurt. So there's a common quote that goes around that it takes like 90 days, or it's a common belief that it takes 90 days to build a habit. I don't know the science behind that, but everyone knows you build habits from repetition of action, and through this consistency you develop a habit. But you can also build habits of personality traits. You build a habit of anger or calmness or kindness or empathy. If you get angry every single day, then you're more prone to this anger, and then maybe even smaller things will cause you to get angry. So you get angry at the traffic every morning, you get angry at the traffic, angry at the traffic, angry at the traffic. It becomes easier for you to display this anger, and it becomes more normal. You normalize this display of anger, and I'm not trying to demonize anger and say that you can never get angry, but some people make anger so easy, so frequent, and they become so blasé about this anger that they don't realize how damaging it is and how shocking it can be. If someone else was in that car with you while she's shouting at the traffic, you might feel quite embarrassed, or they might feel very shocked at this display of anger that you've normalized. And obviously, you're in the luxury of your own car, but this spreads out to other aspects of your life. So you can develop habits of anger, but you can also develop habits of calmness. You display this calmness, you learn calmness, you relax, you meditate, you learn to be present more frequent, and you get used to the feeling of being calm. You normalize it. It's like people, soldiers that are in these very stressful environments, and they learn to be calm in these super stressful environments, and then when they're faced with challenges, even big challenges, then you become quite calm in the face of these challenges. And I've had that in life when I've had to do a very difficult thing that's very stressful. There's a lot balancing on this venture that we're doing. Maybe it's business, work related, but it's very stressful, highly stressful, and a lot rests on it. There's a lot balancing on this. A lot of people rely on it, and maybe you get very stressed, you get through it, and then later on in life you're faced with another challenge that once upon a time would have knocked you down, destroyed you, and it's so easy to make it through. So you develop this strength of character through challenges. But the point of the habits is that an exercise that you can do is like journaling, but you write down when you get angry. You just make a note of it in your phone. You make a note and you make a few key points. So on your way to work every morning, you go to a certain coffee shop I don't know the name of it, but you go there, and this made-up character, Martha, who you once know a long time ago, maybe at school, but Martha also frequents this coffee shop. So you go in, and every morning Martha says something really annoying. She comments on the way you're dressed, the way you look, your hair, something, and it annoys you. So now you write it down, you go, coffee shop, I got really annoyed. How annoyed? How did I feel? I was very irritable, felt like shouting at people. Why? Who was there? Well, Martha, random people, but Martha is the key point, coffee shop, and what she said, they're the key points. Maybe also the time of day, if you're tired, if you're hungry. And then you can just make note of these things. And you do that for a week, and you go, oh, Monday I was hungry, Monday I was tired, Tuesday I was hungry, Wednesday I wasn't, Wednesday I was okay, this. But the key point is this person, this Martha, that is annoying you. So it's her that is annoying you. You've figured it out, which is kind of obvious in that situation, but life is a lot more complex. So then you've got this list, but you do this throughout your days, and you can look at this list, you go, well, I get annoyed, Martha annoys me. I get annoyed in the evening when I am hungry or something, or you start to notice these patterns, and then you can go, well, if she annoys me so much, I'll go to a different coffee shop in the morning. And then you've eliminated this thing that angers you. And then you start to take note of the patterns of when you become irritated or angry. And then you can stay on top of them and start eliminating these things and start to build a better life for yourself, so you don't get as angry at these certain situations. And what this does, so now you're becoming aware of the things that irritate you, and you can avoid them, you have better coping mechanisms, but you can also start to build this habit of being calmer, because you're getting less irritated by these things, you become a calmer person and develop this calmness. And maybe one day you can go back to that coffee shop where Martha is. She says, oh, your hair looks stupid today, and you're not bothered because you've overcome this thing that she once irritated you. So the last thing I'd like to say about anger is we must remember to be good. So as Marcus Aurelius wrote, whatever anyone does or says, I must be a good man. It is as if an emerald or gold or purple were also saying, whatever anyone does or says, I must be an emerald and keep my colour. So we must remember that we are good people, that our duty, our nature is to be good and to help others. And this anger that we display, this anger that we inflict on others, this rage we have, goes against this nature of being good. So we must say, as the emerald says, I must keep my colour. We must keep our goodness, we must keep our virtue. We must not act upon anger and internalize anger and let it corrupt us.